Marfoogle News going live in 3, 2, 1. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. We're going to talk about some very important stuff, including intelligence that says that a conflict is about to start. So we'll talk about that here in just a second. But first off of my own neck of the woods, an area that is going to be one of the biggest disasters of any of our lifetimes. Doesn't matter where you are in the world watching this. Again, there is a very, very strange thing that they've been watching, which is, of course, a volcano that went off previously in 2015 and caused over 8,000 volcanoes. Now, if you've been watching the last couple of days, we actually covered there are new estimates out on Cascadia as far as the Cascadia subduction zone. When it goes off, it will be a 9+ earthquake, and it will go from Canada all the way down to California. The people that are standing in Seattle and the people that are standing in Oregon will all shift 45 feet. It's going to be something out of the movie How It Ends. Honestly, I think How It Ends portrays that going off with whatever event was in that movie alongside it, showing a tsunami hit Seattle, all of that. So again, that is a very, very scary thing. And what we have to watch for is all of the seismic activity. Well, with this huge underwater volcano off the coast, this has caused earthquakes in the past. The actual Seamount is a mile-wide underwater volcano that sits 300 miles off the coast of Oregon and more than 4,900 feet below the surface of the Pacific Ocean. It last erupted in 2015, triggering roughly 8,000 earthquakes. Now, I want to show you the map of this, why this is important. Again, this is a very, very, very close volcano to the very top of the the middle of the Cascadia subduction zone. You see that little line there from maps, from satellite images. You can actually see those bends are part of the plates that meet. So that is the Cascadia subduction zone right there. And essentially, if it has some sort of, pressure moment or something that goes off that triggers it, a full margin rupture would essentially snap and shoot up waves now estimated in some areas in Washington to be over 120 feet high. It's something, straight out of a disaster movie that you just really couldn't fathom happening until it happens. I believe it's going to be much worse than Japan. It's going to be much worse than, the Boxing Day tsunami that happened before in 2004. So this is something to pay attention to. Of course, there's nothing you can do about earthquakes. You can't do anything about these volcanoes, right? But one thing you can do is have basic prep. So I hope that people on the West Coast are really prepping. But something this big, Cascadia, that could affect the entire grid on the West Coast. It could put pressure and it could knock out power on the East Coast. Again, and it's funny, that movie kind of said that. They're like, well, how did the power go on the East Coast? Well, our grid is all connected. So I don't know if that's what they were implying, but again, I could see that happening. So it's something that everybody should pay attention to. Speaking of another thing that you should pay attention to, again, with all of the news that we've covered, I would highly recommend going back and watching the last 2 weeks, even if you're like, oh, it's not news anymore. There's some really, really, really good stories in the last 2 weeks about what really points you in the right direction of what's about to happen. We obviously have many countries at war right now. I highly, highly recommend getting a defense system for your car against not only EMP strikes, but also a Carrington-level event from the sun. If there's a solar event, this will actually ground the signal in less than 500 trillionths of a second before it's able to fry your device. Again, they make them for cars, trucks, motorcycles, boats, generators, gas, and solar. And anything you can think of, they most likely have a device for it. This is a company that is working with agencies like DHS, DOD, and now the DEMSO team. So it's, again, very cool too, because again, the Liberty sale is still going. Again, that means you will get our $50 off per device, plus they are doing a per device discount as well, with the best being if you buy 4 or more, I guess you get 200 from them and then 200 from us. So go to marfuglenews.com/EMP and make sure to use the code MARF. Again, that means you could do 2 cars and your generator, your house, generator, and car, or boat, motorcycle, whatever. Again, marfuglenews.com/EMP. Make sure to use the code MARF. That helps us out, and it gets you a discount, a giant discount in this instance. All right, let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Fugle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So they're saying the United States embarrassed China. How so? And why don't we talk about this?
Well, look, a little bit of geeky news here, but it's kind of its timing is perfect because they just shut off all the access to the U.S. to these rare earths, and getting things out of China like lithium is difficult. Well, uh, that's because they're the only ones that really refine it, even though it may be mined other places. The biggest refining happens in China. And the refining of lithium has been very difficult. The extraction method has it's been it requires a ton of energy and lots of nasty chemicals and things, and the process has just been really difficult. Well, the U.S. has just announced that they've innovated a new electrochemical reactor that only uses salt water, so they're able to extract lithium now, and purify the lithium from the mining process with just using salt water. So it's kind of of all the innovations we keep hearing coming out of China, it's kind of nice to actually hear something big coming out of the US, especially in this particular space, because it is one that we are so dependent on China for. I don't get into the technical gooey details of how it actually works, but the simplest idea is, instead of using this horrible process that they're doing now, they can use electro energy, charged energy in a saltwater kind of bath, and force only the lithium to go through a filter, so they're able to extract just the lithium components from the mined material and do it a lot more sustainable and economical and easier fashion. So it's a huge innovation.
And especially when many people might not care about this, but this is going to be extremely important. We are now set off on this new journey. We don't know where it's headed, but it looks like we are straight up decoupling from China. And China has a monopoly on many different items right now. And it's really scary how we let them get to that point. Another one like antibiotics. It's like, how the heck did we let one of our technical adversaries be one of the main manufacturers and one of the very few? Like, why don't we have factories built in 1980? Like, why isn't it established 1980? We don't. And I know that the president is saying that he is now going to try to bring that back. That's just one more sign that they're decoupling. So big deal. And then Pakistan warns it has credible intelligence India will attack within 36 hours. Now, if you remember Pakistan, the defense minister went on a Sky News interview and said he didn't know anything about this event that happened in Kashmir. Now, if you watch that gentleman, he actually, I believed he didn't know anything. I mean, he's the best actor in the world, or he was compartmentalized so they didn't actually tell him, or it's some sort of Fantastic Freddy. It makes a whole lot of sense. Now, India is now tied in with all of these other deals going on. All of a sudden, you've got J.D. Vance going there. They're planning on all sorts of different projects now. India hasn't been talked about at all. It's like the same couple day period. You've got big visitors from the U.S., and then all of a sudden you've got this horrible event. Now, again, I've tried to explain last night, that I'm not trying to blame the U.S. for doing this or whatever. It's more so we know that the three-letter agencies do these kinds of things because in their eyes, they see a goal to it, or there's a greater good, or at least that's what they tell themselves most of the time, right? That, well, we need to take these bad guys out of power, so we have to do something bad in return to basically get to where we need to go. Fantastic Freddy events have happened as long as we've all been alive. It doesn't matter how old you are watching. So again, this is credible intelligence from Pakistan. Now, I wonder how credible it is, but again, in the next 3 days, if this pops off, we're talking about two nuclear holding countries. Pakistan, in which does not have a no first use policy. So again, it is impossible to know the degree which this is a typical conflict propaganda, but Pakistan is claiming that India is planning a military strike on its territory and that this is coming within less than 1 to 2 days. Pakistan has credible intelligence that India intends to launch a military strike from 24 to 36 hours using the Pahalgam incident as a false pretext. So it says any act of aggression will be met with a decisive response. India will be fully responsible for any serious consequences in the region. India has charged that Pakistan harbored the is responsible for the attack on the Indian administered Kashmir, which came 1 week ago and left 26 perished. They are mostly tourists from India visiting the popular picturesque spot. The gunmen chose on the spot because they were Hindu. So this whole event here, we've seen events like this end up triggering way bigger ones, and that's exactly what it looks like it's doing. Now, as far as why, what would the motivation be? I think that there's a lot tied into the world governments all either coming together, currencies, different deals, different resources, all sorts of things are happening. Every country is involved. Go ahead, Dex.
Well, let's also consider the fact that India is going to be one of the first to align trade with the U.S. India is also looking like they're going to take over for China with manufacturing if people side and this trade issue continues to happen. India and China have long had their own differences with each other. China has had relationships with Pakistan for a while, and it's looked like that's been growing. So you could easily see like that the division lines here could be drawing, and you can think that there certainly is some other influence here to escalate a war there, and especially against India if they are they just said Apple was trying to move all iPhone production that's outside of the country over to India.
So again, with these events happening within the same week, it's like you have to be kind of slow to think that there's not something afoot here. There's major events going on. All of the countries, all of our adversaries, all of them are tied up together. And then, of course, you have all of these countries that are about to go to war or are already in one. What I ask though, why is everybody doing this? Obviously, they know a whole lot more than we do. And I feel like there is a very, 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 very concealed kind of event coming that we just can't see. I mean, and people go, well, if it's such a big event, then why hasn't it leaked yet? Well, that's the thing. There has been a lot of leaks. But now that they control the media, I mean, in all parts of the world, they're using the same playbook from Europe to the U.S., from every other country, the internet, even if there is something, I mean, look at the Virginia goof thing. It's like they're not even afraid of taking people out anymore, because it used to be like, oh, well, that will make too much noise and it will be too obvious. They don't care because they control fact checkers. You could just look it up, and regular people have been trained to be like, oh, well, they said it's debunked, so it's debunked. People don't think outside the box anymore. I know you guys do. Most of you all have a gut feeling that something is wrong, but my gut is sunk all the way down, and I think that it is something far, far worse than we think. The world is trying to grab places. I mean, we're talking about it's back into land grab territory. We just covered last week China and Philippines, both with pictures on the same island putting their flag in. They're claiming land. I mean, this is getting nuts. 2025, you thought everybody had where they were going to have, and that's just definitely not true. Join us for the next show. We're gonna go right into it. If you're in the chat, you'll just be ported over. On the next show, we're going to talk about China banned. It's a very huge thing. This could be the last straw, and I mean this. This is something I talked about with Japan and the oil embargo before Pearl Harbor. They were kind of pitted into a corner. Everything that's saying that they're doing really bad and that they're going to do worse, and the iPhone news, of course, this next news that we're going to talk about, this is like, I don't know if we can go back from a lot of this. So we're going to talk about that in just a moment. So follow us over there. If you're watching the replay, all you have to do is click here. We'll see you in just a minute. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out.